Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Scoop on K-State, a show featuring leaders and alumni of Kansas State University in our efforts to become a next-gen land-grant university. I'm honored to introduce our guest today, Dr. Frank Tracz, who has served as professor of music and director of bands here at K-State for the past 32 years. In this role, Dr. Tracz directs the wind ensemble and, of course, the marching band, teaches graduate conducting, and acts as an advisor to the band ambassadors and administers and guides all aspects of a large Big 12 comprehensive band program. Thank you so much, Frank, for being here today.
You read that pretty well. It's great to be here.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. You know, that K-State education,
It's a good one. There's no question.
It's no Ohio State.
That's all right. This is a great place, no question.
So first off, thank you for joining us. Let's talk about how you got to K-State, because I always consider you a K-Stater.
Yeah, we've been here a long time, and to be honest with you, I came here in '93. The floods, you weren't around, but we had tremendous floods in this town. And I tell people all the time, my wife and I floated up on a raft, and the waters receded, and we stayed. But we came here in '93. I was teaching at a place called Morehead State in eastern Kentucky. And we had two little girls at the time, and I got a phone call from somebody at a place called Kansas State. Never heard of it. Had to call. This was before the internet and phones and cell phones. I had to call my wife on the phone that's hooked to the wall, and you put your finger in a hole and make a spark, one of those. And asked her if she ever heard of K-State, and she said yes. And I said, I haven't. And I said, where is it? And she says, it's right below Nebraska. And I said, where's Nebraska? Didn't know. So we came here with the intent of staying maybe a year or two and going back home, because everybody wants to go home, and this is home. We've been here a long, long time, and we've been here longer than any place we've ever been. So this is it. This is home.
You're such a treasure, and it's really amazing when you think about K-State. I can't think of K-State without you, and I was always considered K-State, so we're glad you stayed.
Well, it's a great place to raise a family. It's a great university. There's some great people here to keep things going. I didn't know how good it was at the beginning until you kind of live through it a little bit and realize that there's some people here that nobody else has.
And you made it your own. So you've built the university's marching band, the pride of Wildcat Land, into such a critical part of K-State. People know, you go to games, that's one of the marquee, I would say, experiences as a fan or a student. Take us through how that journey, how you got the band to where it is now.
I wish I could tell you exactly what it was and how it was, but just get up in the morning, you kind of have a vision of what you want it to be and where it needs to go. And I think you just get up and you roll your sleeves up and do the work. Recruiting, it never ends. That's just constant. And I tell people all the time, that's probably the major task here, because I think there are more cattle in this state than there are people. So, and coming from a place like Ohio, where there's probably more people in the Cleveland, Ohio area where I grew up than there are in the entire state of Kansas. So this was one of those where it's exciting. There's a challenge around every corner every day, and the support mechanism here and the people. This is good, down to earth human beings here. This is a great place.
And maybe we'll get into it later, but just the transformation that we've seen with the band while you're here.
You don't incredible. Really notice that until people like you say something, or I see some videos or something. I'm in the middle of the battle, so I don't see the war, as you would call it.
Yeah.
I see what's going on at that day, and I can tell you that when we go places and I see our band and I compare it to another band, I kind of smile a little bit and say, okay, we're all right. I think we're there. Yeah.
And the neat thing, people have obviously heard by now, hopefully, but the Tracz family band hall,
oh gosh,
just phenomenal. That asset. Talk about that and tell me the cool story about the first game. I love that story.
I can't describe with enough adjectives and superlatives of what the band hall means. It has just saved us hours and hours. And we got back from the bowl game this year, the Pop-Tarts Bowl, and usually by the time we go to the different buildings and the different rooms and move stuff around a truck, take it on, take it off, go over, it takes 8-9 hours to unload from a bowl game. We got back and opened up the garage door into the band hall, and an hour and 15 minutes, hour and 20 minutes, we were done. Everything was put away. And we kind of stood there, and somebody asked, well, what do we do now? And I said, let's go home.
Then your wife goes, what are you doing home?
Exactly. She says, what are you doing? I says, we're done. We're done.
That's incredible.
It is. It's very incredible.
I've got the best office on campus because I oversee and hear you guys throughout the week. You guys do a phenomenal job. But neat thing is, a couple weeks ago, we had some lightning, some storms.
Yeah.
You were able to go inside.
Just went right inside.
And came back out.
Yeah. In the past, it was a great story because I had a grad student assigned to weather. and they were watching the weather, and they would tell me when we had a lightning strike within 20 miles. Because 10 miles is the radius, then you got to go. So they'd say it's getting close, and then we'd have to run in, grab your instruments, and kids would carry tubas and drums and run back to McCain, which is a number of blocks away. If you're thinking about that, you're carrying a sousaphone and running in a lightning storm.
Right.
But, it looked like it was going to rain, and they said within about 20 miles there's a lightning strike, so I called it, and we went right inside and continued practice. So we lost no time, nothing whatsoever. It was great.
That's awesome. So I want to know this question. What's your favorite part about being director of bands, and maybe your favorite memory?
My favorite part is what I'm doing that day when the band. Everybody asks me, what's your favorite band story? And I said, the one that I'm involved in at the moment. My favorite bowl trip victory was when we played Michigan, and we beat them in the bowl game. Now, being an Ohio State graduate, there's a whole rivalry and no love lost there. And then on top of that, we beat them in football at K-State, and a band did really well against the Michigan band, because that's a big-time band.
Yeah.
And we did really well. So that's probably my favorite victory of all time, but whatever victory we are at that moment is just my favorite.
Every day's experience.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And speaking of experiences, what unique student experience do members of the band have, and how's this enhance their academic experience here at K-State?
That's a great question. That's probably the most valuable thing that I could tell a parent or parents that come into my office. The band plays well, they march well, we teach them, and they do really well. They're great kids. But I think what they get out of this is the very first, the most important thing is they belong here. They belong to something that's bigger than themselves. The success of the entire group is dependent upon the individual, and they know that, and they have to work together. And we challenge them. We put them in situations where these kids have never been in that type of situation before, where they have to, as we tell them, suck it up and deal with it, and go forward. And they develop grit. They develop stick-to-itiveness. They develop a sense of we're in this together, and lock some elbows and we could do this. It's a wonderful thing for a student. There are probably kids, the students that come in for recruiting visits, that are not sure they want to be in the band, spend the time. But I can always tell with the parents that they know about our band, they know what it means to be in the band, and they want their son or daughter to be in this band because they know it will help them. Yeah. And it really will. It'll challenge them. They have to be organized. They have to be efficient. They have to have a good work ethic. They have to learn how to get up in the morning, even if you don't feel like doing it. You have to get up and do it.
Yep.
So this is just a good thing. So beyond the musical aspect and the band aspect of it, the idea of growth and personal improvement and stuff for each student is probably monumental in what they do. They don't know it, but when they leave here and look back, as I tell them all the time, I said, we're in Disney World right now. And once you graduate and you get out and you work for a living and life happens, you're going to want to come back and sweat in the Memorial Field at 102 degrees outside, no question.
Just the grit, determination, it really sets them up for success in the future. You talk about time management, everything.
And as I tell them, I said, the number one challenge you're going to have is dealing with people, other people. And we do that. We put them in situations where we challenge them. I mean, we 11 o'clock kickoff, 6 o'clock in the morning rehearsal. And the interesting thing is, the alumni will love this, nobody's late. They're there.
It's awesome.
And
and then they're there in the early mornings when they're welcome the team back.
Well, the night before is pub crawl or a volleyball game or a basketball game, and most of them don't go to sleep, and they'll get up there in the morning. And I drive in the stadium at 5:15 with my car in the cart now with electronic stuff, and we unload it. And I was on the way there, I always make a comment like, this is a young man's job, and I'm terribly overqualified for this. And then you walk in, you get in the stadium, and you look at them, and the tubas are screwing around, the drums are warming up, the trombones are playing football, the baritones are playing hacky sack. It just goes on and on.
Yeah.
And they're young adults, and it's 5 o'clock in the morning, and it's 27 degrees. And they're smiling and laughing and running around having a good time. And all of a sudden, for me, it's like, okay, I can get through today.
Yeah. Or like several weeks ago when the football team came back from Colorado, you guys were there at 5 in the morning. Welcome back. I mean, what a neat thing. What a neat thing.
It's a cool thing, and that we call it the Veneer Victory Pep Band. And so that started long time ago, and we beat somebody when Coach Snyder was here that we weren't supposed to. And I got on the phone and called some pitchers. We maybe had a dozen players, and so let's meet the team. And now it's grown. There were each week that we do this, there's a couple hundred band kids at 5 in the morning.
Incredible, yeah.
It's really incredible.
Yeah, and the football team loves it. I mean,
it's
just amazing.
That's the thing that's, I think, really different that separates K-State from everything else. our kids feel part of the university as a student.
Yeah.
And when the team comes over and says thank you, and when the team is doing a Wabash with us at 5:15 in the morning after, going through what they did physically, I mean, that they've got to be hurting.
Yeah.
And they're standing, and our kids feel like they belong here, that they're part of the university, and they are.
Well, and I love, too, you talked about pub crawls. So for some people who may or may not know, they should know, but that's the neat thing about being alumni coming back, and you're in a restaurant or in Aggieville, wherever it may be, on night before a game, and they do this neat pub crawl, and they come through for 10 minutes and play, and it's the neatest thing. How that start? How long has that been going on?
That was another accident. It was probably about 25 years ago, maybe 94, 95. We lost a ball game we weren't supposed to lose on the road. And one of the big powerhouses was coming the next week, rated number 1 or 2 in the country, and we were supposed to get killed. And so the band was down on the Friday afternoon. After rehearsal, I gathered around. I said, if I was in this band, if I go back to my days in the Ohio State band, and we all felt this way, I said, I would grab some of my friends. Drums, trumpets, trombones, go down to Aggieville, stand in the middle of the street, play the fight song of Wabash, create a traffic jam, create chaos, just get everybody fired up and thinking about stuff, and I'd run away. Well, I knew some of them would, but the whole band went. And so right in front of the old Varneys, they stopped traffic, sirens were going off.
It's not my idea.
But that very night, I started getting phone calls from Rusty's, places like that, want to know if a band could come back in. So to make a long story short, the kids get a small scholarship, they get a T-shirt, they get fed, which is a big deal for band kids. Yeah. And there's 3 pub crawls, about 24 students apiece, including classic cats and cheer. And they go in, I think the last count was 43 restaurants and bars, from Colbert Hills to west to east to
and
north
now
and
Rusty's
south.
is Yard Bar.
I
For
don't
those
know
who
the
remember
names
Rusty's,
anymore. I don't even know the names anymore, but they're everywhere, and it's the most difficult band to get into here. Isn't that amazing? Started by accident.
That is wild. What a neat tradition.
It's a neat tradition.
People love it.
Visiting teams and visiting administrators and coaches and their wives go out to dinner and stuff that Friday night, and they talk about that.
Speaking of alumni, for those that were in the band, anything you'd like to say to them, the band alumni?
Oh, absolutely. If you haven't been back here to see the band hall, you're going to love it, but you're going to be angry and jealous because you remember those days of moving stuff back from McCain and so on and so forth. This is phenomenal. There's no wasted space in the building. Every nook and cranny is filled with something. There are bathrooms, for crying out loud. There's storage. There's a band cat's pantry. We have a full-time repairman now that repairs all the instruments. We have all the equipment. It is, you got to come back and see this. And the other thing I'll tell you is the band is, COVID was a little slow for everybody. It kind of beat us all up, but we're coming back. We're over 400 right now, 410. They're playing well. They're marching well, and all the traditions continue. They're doing all the same things that you alumni did when you were here, and some of them I know about, some of them I don't, and I don't want to know about them. But it's still strong. It's still vibrant. It's pretty good.
Well, anything else? Any other good stories you want to share? Tidbits?
There are so many good stories here. I think one of the neat things was after a big victory last year, we beat, or 2 years ago, we beat KU. They're hitting the podium while we were playing the fight song, and all of a sudden somebody tried to get on the podium, and I turned around, and there's a guy trying to climb up the stairs, and I didn't know, I almost ready to just push him off or kick him or something, and then it got up to the top and gave me a hug, and it was Coach Kleiman. Oh. Good thing I didn't. But it was Coach Kleiman, gave me a hug, and he's fist pumping the band and all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of those type of memories. Now my main concern was that this podium was going to go down, and 2 of us would end up in a hospital. But it was another one of those moments that it's a Kodak memory, and the kids don't understand what that means anymore. But
that's true.
Yeah.
Well, and you've had some, I guess, interesting interactions with opposing coaches as well.
We have.
Coach Gundy, I know in particular.
Coach Gundy is our buddy, and he made some comments about us one year, and then we didn't forget those, and kind of took care of him the last couple of years playing wise. And we have some special cheers for him, and I know he hears them because his headsets are off, and this is all college kid fun, what it's supposed to be. Yeah. So it's a good thing.
That's part of the fun.
Yeah.
Well, this is one of my favorite parts of our podcast. This ice cream's been sitting in front of us.
That's why I'm doing this, because this is.
I know, that's your payment.
This is it, baby.
The royalty to get you here. Of course, we're unofficially sponsored by Call Hall Ice Cream, as we should be, right? Yeah. We're trying to get an official sponsorship. Working on that. Maybe you can tip over the edge.
I'll make sure I get some on my shirt here.
Yeah. So tell us, everybody, what flavor you selected.
Well, it's the Purple Pride. This is good stuff right here. It's just if this is the one you're saving, I get this one right here, don't I? This
you
here?
get both.
This is mine.
Yeah, you get all.
Outstanding.
Yeah. Well, it's great. I mean, we appreciate Dr. Trace, everything you've done for K-State, everything you continue to do. So fortunate to have you leading us and K-State in the future, and just can't imagine what it'd be without you. So thank you for all you've done, and
great place.
You're just one of those pillars, and
great.
We appreciate you so much.
Thank you for
Thanks
being
for joining
here.
us today. That wraps up another episode of The Scoop on K-State. I'm Adam Walker, President and CEO of the K-State Alumni Association, and I want to thank you for watching or listening to the show. Until next time, be sure to share this podcast with your friends, family, and select that follow button on your podcast app so you'll never miss another episode of the show. The K-State Alumni Association is proud to be your connection to campus. We value and appreciate your ongoing support and, of course, membership. And if you're not currently a member, please consider joining. And, of course, Frank, go Cats.
Go Cats.